Before we start, there are two important background information. One is that all the files which I'm, as you work in the W, if you would like to use the same file which I've used, I have shared in a Google Drive shared drive path. It is on the help guide and the Rex here. It is in this path. If you come here, sample files. The same sample files. They are shared here in different directories. There will be I think 2-3 files for statistics. Those statistics analysis. These are the RBI. These are live file RBI data, and these are the bank. These other files which we discussed. That's one. Second is throughout the app you would see me doing voice typing. So everywhere I'm using voice typing. I am not using Whisper. I am not using Whisper or anything in the app. So those who are using, you can use whichever your voice typing app you like. But Windows 10 and 11 have a native voice typing app, which sort of is available everywhere. It activates with Windows and the H key, or Mac command H key, I think. So Windows H. So if I'm doing Windows H, I have pressed. So now with that, the voice typing activates, and anything that I'm typing, it does a pretty decent job actually, pretty impressive job of all the voice typing, and it has a buffer. So right now, if you see, everything is going into a buffer, and then when I stop speaking, the buffer unloads sort of. So if you are typing, you might have to, before you hit enter, you might just have to wait for just a second. Yeah, like so, right? And then again the voice typing can continue. Now, so Windows H, if it doesn't activate, you have to just keep in mind, then you might want to check your settings. I think and ChatGPT can guide you if you are getting stuck. Just ask, is not working. But setting, I think there is a voice privacy activation setting. This one, let apps access voice activation service. So you have to, I think, put this on. There is another setting. I think this voice typing. Voice typing. So I think this is fine. I think they are moving to something called voice access and all, but that's fine. So that's it. So we will now continue with the demo. And if Windows for any reason is not working, unavailable, then you can use Google Docs. You can use Google as a voice typing feature. So, but you'll need to open a Google Doc. Sometimes I will use this also. You go into tool and you will need to go into voice typing initially. If you might have to enable your microphone or something, and then you start to speak, and again the same thing. It converts voice to start to again. These are the options, both of them. Earlier, sometimes back, I used to just type out everything here, so I can see in a large window. That's also an option. You can type out everything here, so you can see in a larger window. Easier to edit sometimes. So you can either options. So we'll start with one of the files. So let's choose a file here. So I'll be taking that RBF file which I showed. So these are a small sample. This is a small file, live data, very rich data, but small sample. Later on we will go take larger files, ranging from 1 million, 5 million records, 600 MB and so on. Now let's click on table. So this gives us an interactive table. So the table is getting generated, and as the table is getting generated, I will click on structure and I will click on quick structure. So I am at the same time I am also requesting for a data structure. So interactive table has come below here. Now let's look at the interactive table. I'll expand it here. So this allows us a very quick view of the data, how it looks like, what the analysis report has also come. We will check it out. A very quick view of the data in an interactive table format. You can sort it. There are filters here to allow very quick filtering for it. You can choose the number of records that you would like here, and for the numeric record, if you click here, so I have given these distribution or the statistical parameters for that number, being central tendency, distribution plots, some of the measures of dispersion, and so on. These are computed here on the fly using JavaScript functions only. And then here for each row, this calculator icon, this will show you the row, what is there in the row. So this gives you an idea about what the data sort of looks like, and if you want to do a very quick stuff here, you can do it. I have loaded here files up to that 5 million record, and almost 500-600 MB also I have loaded. It's a function of the laptop memory and all, but at the higher file sizes beyond 20-30 MB, I have seen that these these measures, then the app crashes, sort of. You get a white screen and then it doesn't this doesn't come up. That function is not an optimized function. I have just tried it out, so that's something which we'll do as we go ahead. Now, data structure we had requested, so now what we get is in the data structure column we get this data structure analysis. So here what has happened is, in the background I send over a sample record, 10 sample record, and the header to the AI agent that here is this thing, and there is a prompt which I will show you, and it comes out with column. What do these column mean? There seem to be some duplicate column. I'll need to check that. Naming convention, granularity, whether it has got a date angle or not, then something about data quality assessment. This is a little superficial. Some of it is little superficial because it doesn't have the full data, and some technical recommendation. And what is the kind of potential use cases? It is hypothesizing, right? You can do fraud detection, customer behavior, revenue. Sometimes it is generic, some depending on the data. Sometimes it is generic, sometimes it is little more useful, right? And the structure here, what is the prompt which is sent, or what if you want to do a custom structure analysis? So you go to custom structure. This is the actual prompt which is being sent for the quick analysis. So you can modify it here, and you can modify it, get whatever you wish. I just want the column names, and you send it, or whichever you want, and you will get it here. And you also get it as a PDF in a PDF format. So same thing is available in the PDF format. Now let's look at the analysis one. So I'll say analysis, I'll say quick analysis. So this analysis one, it takes probably a minute to run actually. So once it is run, I'll come back again. But here what is happening is, here I am sending it the header and 100 rows of data. Okay, it happened pretty fast. So 100 rows of data from the backend, and you can modify that however much you want to send. This is a small data set, 64 rows in one data set, so all the data will go. So here you get the quick insights. So here it is sharing the analysis based on that. This is a textual analysis, right? We have not yet come to the querying, SQL querying part of it, or running the Python codes and all. It is just taking the data. It is as good as pasting it in the Chatbox window and giving it a prompt. So it has come out with, based on whatever it is able to do, key insights. These are based on the prompt, major trend and all, that depends on the data and the prompt, and some correlation and anomalies, and analytic use cases. So I asked it, I want analytic use cases which you can do from this data based in these 3-4 sections, and further analysis session and so on. And again, you have the option for getting this in a PDF format. So same analysis, then you have the PDF format. What if you do not want this? What if you want something separate, something more customized? So you come here and you go to custom analysis, and you give your prompt that can you, whatever you wish to do. I don't want this, or give me more of this, or something else. But this is the prompt which goes out in the quick analysis. This is the prompt which goes out. So you can modify it, change it, replace it. Right. So currently you have to keep in mind, all this is only textual analysis which is happening. We have not come to the query. This kind of analysis might be okay in some use cases, small data sets and so on. But if I am saying going to upload, as we will do later, or as if I want to upload a data set of 1 million record, 10 million records and all, this will not work. Then we need to go into pushing this into our DB. Okay, now let's look at uploading that uploading data to a database. So I will, it can be the same file, it can be a different file. So I'll choose say different file, right? It's similar format, doesn't make a difference whichever file. And I'll say push to my database, but it says please connect to a database first. So I need to give my database credentials. So here are my database credentials. These are temporary database. So it could be in this URI form, or it could be in this detailed form. Doesn't make a difference. Any form it will work. It has got the standard connection details, username, password, and so on. We need to provide. If you are sending in a URI format, typically Postgres or MySQL is mentioned there. If not, we need to specify what the database type is, whether it is Postgres or MySQL, because the queries are different. So I will share this, and anyway, if there is something missing, it will get back with the details. So I will just paste it here. I'll dump it here, whatever I have, whichever format, and I will send it to the AI agent. So now background, it is now going there, taking the screen and checking the connection. Let's see what it says. Escape here, and I will click here. So I have tested the connection, it is working, and here are the database credentials. Nickname is a name I give for ease of referring to, and it's a Postgres, so it has got a public schema. So now this table, let's push it. I'll say push my push to my database. So in the backend now it is taking this data table, and it is the data is being uploaded. Later in the build section I'll tell you how it happens, because each table is a new one, right? So we need to figure out the column headings and all, which is done by the LLM. So the data is now getting uploaded. So 64 rows uploaded, and the schema is now being sent to the AI agent. So the AI agent has received the schema, which is basically the header, which is basically the, not the header, but sample rows from the database, extracted from the database, along with what the column types are. So now it is ready. If this schema, if I did not have this schema, if I had not given the schema, then we will have to ask it, hey, can you show me two sample records, because it needs to know what the table names are and what the column names are and what is there. Then it can infer many of the things. So we need to either provide that information separately, or we can just ask sample rows, but here it already has the data. So now let's ask it, hey, can you share the list of top 10 banks by the number of debit cards, and also a chart, please. So now it is going to be running a SQL query. So I could have asked the same question without pushing to the database, but typically the answer goes wrong. You know, that sorting and all, it doesn't do very well when it is just looking at the text. But when it is doing by SQL query, it comes out perfectly well, because it's a simple query here. So here we have the number of banks. We can, later section I will be running more detailed queries on much larger data set, and we can also ask what query you passed. Hey, can you also share the SQL query you used? Typically for more complex data set, I will like to ask the SQL query as well as understanding even before it executes it. So this is the SQL query it used, in case you want to verify. It ran the whole thing again. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, and so that's it. That's the basic thing. Let's and it can do statistical analysis also. So we will do some of the things we will cover later on. Some things I will show. One thing I'll show now. Hey, in this data set, can you take all the numeric variables and share a correlation matrix, and share that matrix in a table format, share the full table, okay, and also in a nice chart. So when I first asked it, it encountered an error, right? Sometimes it happens, some connection issue. So I had asked him to show the sample records again, so sometime in case it forgets the column names, and then I asked it to create the correlation matrix again. So it is sharing that in a table format. The table is not complete, but we can request that, and it has shared a chart. So let's look at the chart. So this is the correlation matrix, right? The diagonals are always 1, and then there are the various value heat map. Okay, the next, now I'll show you what if you do not have a database connection. So there are two. I will show you two ways to do it right now in a minute. One is to create a database here on the fly. And second is to go to one of the smaller providers, not Amazon and AWS. That becomes a little complex. Let's just see. So you can create a database here right away on the fly. I'll click on create DB. So it will open in a new window that's required for auth, and then I'll click on create DB. So it'll ask for one of these auth logins. So I can give. I'll give this, and I'll say create DB. So it's creating a Neon database. So backend provider is Neon, a fantastic provider, especially for AI LLM apps, where we need to provide, very often we need to create tens and hundreds of databases and delete them and so on. So a nickname can be anything. I'll say create database. So now it is connecting on the backend to Neon and creating a database there and getting the credentials. So here are the credentials. So these credentials can be used. These credentials can be used later on when you log in. You can log in after a day, 2 day, 1 week. These credentials will still work. You can log in via DB Viewer or your SQL Workbench or whichever are there for Postgres, and you can view it. I'll say that use it for a temporary purpose, because I'll be purging and cleaning these databases. But I'll show you other way where you will have a more permanent database. So this database credentials are here. At the same time, it has taken the credentials and tried connecting with it, and let's see. So it has tested the connection, it is working, and here are the database credentials, the same database. So now this again is a Postgres database, right? So you have a database, sometimes you might want to just do a very quick temporary analysis, and temporary database, good for temporary database. You upload something I can now upload one of the same file or any other file. I'll upload the file here and I'll say push to my DB. So what it will do is whichever is the latest database connected, it will push it there. Again, I'm working right here with smaller data set. Later on we'll work with larger data set. Actually, it doesn't take in Postgres database of 5 million record, 600 MB took around 3.5 minutes. 100k record, 200 million record upload very quickly. Postgres is faster because I'm using a copy command there. So it is uploading the same process now. It is uploading the data to that new database which we have shared. So it is inserted the records there, and now it is pulling out the schema of that table and sending it to our AI agent. So schema sent to AI agent. I'll press escape here. So the data is ready here. So it's the same. I have the same RBA data for multiple months. Later in the analysis, we will stack them together one over other and do a little more analysis. So you can view the sample records if you would like to, or we can directly go into we can ask them to do the same thing. Let's make sure it is connected to the database and is able to read it. Can you share the list of top 10 banks by the number of debit card and the chart also? So this is a simple check just to where I am testing it out. It's simple check to make sure that the SQL query is running and the chart is also coming. Okay, here is a chart. It took around half a minute. Sometimes it comes in 5-10 seconds. Sometimes it takes half a minute. Depending on many things. So same thing now. Now you can continue with the analysis. Which I will show next, and not necessarily you can upload any other table. So if I want to upload any of the other table. Which I showed from there, it can go into the same database. So this is 1 million records and 122 MB. So we can push it here, and we can push it here, and we can I'll say that I'll put this into the table. I will request for a quick structure. I will request for a quick analysis, and at the same time I will pushing it to the database, right? So I'll fast forward, and I'll fast forward. Okay, so here the table has been added, so no need to fast forward. So data is, so that it has loaded that table 1 million records in the database below. So this I can expand. So this is the backend is a 1 MB 100 MB table, right? So it will sort it, and sorting and all is little slow, but you can see the you can see some of these things. It can sort and it can filter. That is a more efficient process. This statistics will not work if I work. This app will close because it's I am yet to sort of optimize that piece. And here again I requested for the data structure analysis. So it has, this is what is the column. So it has uploaded the data, right? So within that took probably just a minute, and the data has been sent to the AI agent also. So the data structure is ready here. You can take a look at it. It is done a quick insights, whatever insight it could draw from 100 records. And here the data has already been uploaded. I have showed the customer profile and the sample data. It's already there, right? So we can I can ask it a question. Here, from this data set, can you find out the response rates broken down by the housing variable? I would also like to see the number of customer, number of responder, and response rate. Please share in a table format. So it has already viewed the sample record, so it is able to infer from that, right? Now I know the data, what variables I did not even have to give the variable name. So number of customers 800,164, around a million customer. So we have this number of response rates. Hey, can you push this into a nice some nice meaningful insightful chart, please? So that query took what, I think 2-3 seconds, because it was running on Neon server, right? So it doesn't make a difference, depending on the server speed. So I have not given it the number of name of the responder, field names and all. I did not give it, right? It figures it out on its own. The field name is actually just named as this thing, named as this thing. So so here we have the chart. Okay, I think the chart can be made better, but that's fine. Not how I would have done it, but that's fine. We can modify it. That give me give me some other version of the chart and so on. You can iterate over it. And if we look at the sample data, can you show me 3 sample records, please, in table format? So if you look at the sample format, it inferred the variables on its own, and the response is actually not 1-0. Response is yes and no. So at the background, if I ask for its query, you can ask it to show it the query. Hey, can you share the query you ran to pull out that response rate table? Right. So on its own, without it understood, when the response is yes, then it has to be taken as 1, else 0, and then it used this formula to find the number of customers, then this is the number of responders, and this is the response rate, right? Now this is a temporary database. You can create a database here. You can come back, use it till the time it is not paused, or you can just create one on the fly, use it, and forget about it. But what if you want to create your own database? So then there are a couple of providers. Production grade warehouse, they have great free tiers, and this is the ones which I really like are Neon. Now Neon is tremendous for AI application backend, where I might have to create a database on the fly, delete it, but otherwise also there's a great free plan. You get half GB, 500 MB of storage. You roughly get 1 month kind of free this compute hours. And it is a Postgres database. You can create multiple projects inside there. There will be multiple databases. And then the second one is, I'll show you how to do once. I1 is a great one. It allows you both Postgres and MySQL, and has a 5 GB limit. So some of my bigger files, those 600 MB file, I cannot load to Neon on the free tier. So that I will show. I have uploaded to I1. So 5 GB is good for many small use cases. Even 500 MB for many of the smaller use cases, testing and all, great. Supabase is there. Again, it has got 5 free tier, has about 500 MB space, but free projects are paused after 1 week of activity. So that sort of it's a choice. Then I also came across this small provider, or one provider called Auth0. I think I got a lot of inputs on the developer forums, and all this is very widely used for testing and testing in very small use cases. Free one, but provides the free one provides only 2 databases, 10 MB, and the $2 one provides you 10 GB per database and 15 database, which comes to around 150 GB. So this is also one of the options, but I'll say between Neon and Avian currently, between them it's great. So I'll show with both Ivan and Neon. The rest of the demos, some of them are on Neon Postgres, most of them are on Ivan MySQL. For your trying and testing, if you are trying it out, I'll suggest go with Ivan MySQL. The syntax for MySQL is a little more forgiving. The type convention are a little less strictly enforced. So Ivan, it has got a free tier. These prices are there, but it has got a free tier. So I will start with a totally new account. So get started here. Then I'll say sign up with Google. I'll sign up with one of the other accounts. Okay, we come here to log into console. And you give all the details, right, which are there, and I said done. So you'll end up here, and We will choose MySQL, and I will choose the free plan, and this free plan is no credit card is required, and you get 5 GB, you get 1 GB of RAM, 2 CPU, 1 GB RAM, 5 GB storage, which is pretty generous that way. And all these will remain like that. And here name, I will give some name, rextemp, and I'll say create free service. And yeah, that's it. These are the connection details. We are all set. Next, secure connection. That is fine. We don't need to do all this. Data to database, nothing required. Done. And I will copy this. Now we can copy this directly from here. It is copied, and you can come back to here anytime. It is down below. These are the same things, but URI. This is the URI format. This is just bit. So I'll come here again. We'll come here. I will give the details, send to AI agent. So in the backend, it is parsing, extracting the connection string, and after that it will try and establish a connection. Let's see. Check the AI tab for the response. So we'll come to AI tab. It seems that the connection to MySQL database is not working. It cannot connect to the database. Here are the details I check. All the required information is present, but the connection is failing. Yeah, so that is the prompt. In case it fails, then it has to share this information for us to double check. So I think all of them are right. I1 sometimes takes a few minutes to get up and running. So we will again check back in 5 minutes. Okay, so back after 5-7 minutes. So let's try again. Okay, send to AI agent. Let's see. Check the AI chat tab. Okay, let's see here. I have tested the connection and it is working. Here are the database connection details. Okay, now let's just make sure everything else works. Let's try uploading one file here. Okay, push. So typically every time if a new connection I'll upload one file, do one very quick query, so that we are comfortable it has that connection is working. It's a small file, small or large. There is around 30 seconds is required, 20 maybe seconds is required for all files, but the incremental time. MySQL failed, detail upload failed, so and so. When the primary unable to create a change table without a primary key, when the system variable SQL primary key is set, add a primary key to the table or unset this variable, note this table without a etc. etc. Okay. So this is a system setting. They might have set, they have set it on. So that's one thing. So we will just go here. It is mandating that we have every table should have a primary key. We don't need that at this point. The initial point, we can do that later. So all that we need to go is I1 will go to service settings, and in the service settings there is a advanced. This is require primary key is enabled. We will just go and disable it, disabled, and save configuration. Okay, that's it, right? Should be, that's it. Now we'll again try. The file is already there, so I will say push to my DB. So 65 rows inserted, and now sending the schema to AI. Okay, so schema sent to the AI agent. So our agent here, okay, it has received, right? It has previous connection was this, and this is they have received it. Let's just do a very quick check. Hey, can you share the list of top 10 banks by number of debit cards and a chart also? Okay, so that took around what, 45 seconds, maybe 30-40 seconds. Top 10 banks by number of debit. Here you go, top 10 banks by number of debit cards. So this is a SQL query, right? So everything comes ordered, and you have the chart here. You can view it in a bigger format if required by debit card. Okay, so now we are. This is how you set up a new connection. All of these I1, Neon, Supabase, FileZero, you set it up. Now if you want to create something in Neon, how do you do it? You come to, when you log in with your Google. It takes whatever 15 seconds, and you will come to a console like this. Now I have some projects already, but it will be blank. This part will be blank. So all that you say is new project, right? And you choose AWS is there. All this, let it remain, and you can just give whatever name you want to give. So I will give whatever name to the desktop. I'll say create project. That's it, done, finished. You get this. This is the database credentials. So I'll say copy snippet. So I'll copy this, copy it, and I'll paste it here. and if I want to get it converted into this format, I can do it manually, or I just send it to ChatGPT, ask it to give it in a table format. So I come here and I go into Analyzer app. I will refresh this, open a new one here. So what I will do is, so I will come here, I'll say connect, I will dump the credentials here, right, and I'll say send to AI agent. So backend, it is going to the AI agent, which is now checking the connections and all, right. So okay, I have tested the connection, it is working fine. So you are now live with Neon database. So here this will continue, you can upload your very easy to use. This is the project. You can create multiple databases there. Inside databases you can create schemas there, up to 500 MB in the free tier, but very fast, it works very fast. And for if you are building LLM apps and all, excellent choice. And now same remaining things you can test it out, whichever file you want to upload, it will push the file to whichever database is connected. 65 rows uploaded. So first 1-2 time I got an error, I just continued, sometimes just push it once or twice and it comes. So the database is there. Now you can use your database. Okay, now we will do a couple of different types of analysis. In this analysis, what we will do, we will take some of the RBA files that we had earlier and stack them one below the other and do some analysis. So here I am connected to my existing MySQL database. Same way I did the connection string with the MySQL database at I1. So let's see first. So now now at this point in time, the AI doesn't have the schema. It doesn't know what the tables are and what the table contents are. So depending on what we want to do, we will have to feed it information or show it the information. That kind of schema information can be fed from the backend, like when we were doing with the file upload, or we might have to do it as we go along. So what are the tables? So since this is a MySQL database, there is no schema name to be given. Tables are directly there. So it should show us the tables. So I will make this larger here. Okay. And so these are the tables which are there. This was something I was earlier trying out. So we'll drop this table. Okay. Drop this. Now the remaining are the monthly table of the RBI credit card POS data, right? They are 12 months table, TXT file which were uploaded here and they were pushed into the database like we had shown earlier, has been successfully dropped. Now we will stack them one below the other, right? So the files which we want is, we want these two and these 8-10 files. I am going to ask them to shift and enter here. And I'll say these tables, they have the same exact structure, so I would like you to stack them one below the other, right? Sort of append them and put that into a new table. New table. Okay, so I'll say go stack them one below the other and put that into a new table. Okay, let's see. So here when the table structures are same, it's just a union. Okay, combined. So it has done it. So let us ask it to, for this new table that you created, can you show me 3 sample rows and the column structure, column types also? So now I would like to verify the table also, and it allows the AI also to view the get the information on the table, so it makes it easier for the rest of the queries. Then it is able to understand and infer. I don't even need to give it very specific field names. So here we go, we have the sample rows. Okay, if we ask for table, normally I ask for show it to me in table format, then it comes in a nice format. It showed us one below the other. So these are the field that we had in that bank data, and column structures are there. So now we can go ahead with, I want to do one spend analysis. I would actually like to know the total spends coming from debit card and credit card, And when I say total spends, what I mean is spends from POS and ecom online. And I would like to see this breakup separately, right? Ecom and POS separately, and I'm looking for the value, right? TX and amount field, and I would like to see them separately broken down, then totals for the credit card, then total for the debit card, and then the grand totals. So all the breakups are there along with the subtotals and the grand totals. And I would like this to be grouped by month, right? So it will be grouped by month. And only one thing keep in mind, the amount which are currently, the TXN amount which are currently in the table, they are all rupees 1000. Okay, so just make a note, all the amounts currently are rupees 1000. I would like that to be converted to rupees trillion. So can you do one thing? Can you, before you execute the query, can you share your understanding of this as well as the query? So we will send this across. Okay, it directly created the query only. So here is the monthly spend. Okay, so we got the table here directly. I would have liked it to, I was expecting it will share the understanding first, but this seems to be right? This is what we wanted, POS, card, ecom, total. So these numbers, I had done a test check of these numbers. So these numbers are fine now. Okay, so these numbers look okay. So let's have it prepare some, charts for it. Now we can specify the, we can specify that I need this specific kind of charts, but let's ask it to take a shot itself. Okay, so can you share some charts for this, one or more charts to bring out the story here? Create some nice visually appealing charts, please. So the charts will come in the other section. So I will minimize this, it will come here. Okay, so it came up with the charts, it came up with 2 charts. Let's see what it came up with. So credit card, POS, and total credit card, and then it came up with debit card, POS, and total debit card. So last 12 months the spends have almost across this thing, it has been more or less stagnant, is it? Okay, so not bad, not bad. We can always iterate it if we want more charts or less charts. I would like you to do one analysis. I want to find out what is the annualized spends per credit card by banks. So it will be grouped by banks, and by the way, put everything into a new table. Okay, so it will be grouped by bank, and when I say spends, I mean spends, I am taking only the credit card spends, and for POS and that online ecom. So this is the total spends. The way I would like you to calculate is that put one column into the table which is the sum of this spends, these two things, and then in the next column what I want to find out, you can put is sum of the number of credit cards, number of credit cards. And by the way, spends I am talking about the amount, the TXN amount. Okay, and now the credit card, then in the next column you compute the sum of the credit cards, and in the third column then you divide that by that and you get per card, right? But that is still not annualized. So in the last column in that table, then you multiply by 12 to get a annualized credit card spends per it will be on a per year basis, and of course it will be grouped by bank. So put this into a new table. Okay, and there is a lot of dividing and all which is going on, so take care of that dividing by 0 thing. You have to manage the denominator that way. And so before you do this, can you share the query and your understanding of this? I want to confirm your understanding and the query. Once I confirm, then you execute. No, don't do it like this. Take the actual columns for credit card, POS, and that ecom TXN amount. So here we go. I think the numbers, the calculations are fine. The only thing which I find a little odd, and this during the testing also, I found that This annually spends per number. This is now at a country level, right, across the country. So this number is looking a little too high. For Amex it is looking too low, and this is looking too high. If it is the denominator total card base is supposed to be the open account number or open cards, then it looks high because there is a lot of inactive. So but anyway, and it took a few here if you see. So we got the number, yeah, but it took 2 iterations. First time it got the understanding wrong, and then I had to get then it got the understanding right, and the right was taking the right field. First time it was doing a little shortcut work, right? Then it got it right, and the annualized number I forgot to tell it that it is rupees 1000 to be converted. So once that was done, so we do it. So this is a simple one. Very often the some of the actual analysis and some of these actual data pool and table creation, it happens one column at a time, few columns at a time. You keep validating the numbers and so on. Bank customer data. Now this is a mock data. So we have the bank customer data, 1 record per customer with demographic information, response data, and cust ID, and then we have the transaction data, which has got this is again mock data, cash and retail transaction, cash and retail sales. I had asked it to show the sample records and the column type so that it is aware of the data type. So if that bank table, that cust ID field is there, can you check if there are duplicates or blanks there in that field? Okay, so it found out some duplicates and blank. Can you, from that table, can you drop these blank and duplicates? For the next set of analysis and all, I would like you to pull out some totals from the trans field first. So the concept is that TC code, there is TC code, so that TC code 1001 is cash sales, and 1002 are retail, okay, and there is the amount. So what I would like to see is for cash and retail separately, for cash, retail, and also total. Cash, retail, total, I would like to see the total amount of transactions, total number of transactions, and then ATV. ATV is the average transaction value, which is the amount divided by the number of transactions. So can you calculate this and share in a small table format, please? For the next thing, I would like you to create a new table, and in this table I would like to I want a summary of the trans table, but you have to summarize by cust ID. So it will be a customer level table, and put that into a new table and give it there might be some other trans summary table existing, so give it trans summary version 3 or something, call it like that. Now what I would like to see in this table is at a customer level, I would like to see the cash amount, exactly using the logic that you calculated, right? So sum of cash amount, then the number of cash transactions, and then the cash ATV. So this will, now we are doing this at a customer level. The remaining logic is the same that you used. Then same thing for retail, retail amount, retail number of transactions, then retail ATV. In addition, then I would like to see the total also, total transaction amount, then number of transactions, then the total ATV. And I would also like you to add a flag, 2 flags, cash flag and the retail flag. Cash flag 1 means 10 means 1 means it has done a customer has done a cash transaction, and a retail 10 means 1 means it has done a retail transaction. So if a customer has done both type of transaction, then the flag will be 1 1 that way for both the fields. Right. Now before you execute this query, I would like you to, can you share your understanding of what I shared with you, and then also share the SQL query, so before you execute it. So once I review it, I will let you know, then I will let you know to execute it. Once you check the understanding, so let's see whether it got the understanding right or not. Total cash amount is this number of. Okay, here we go. So we got this. This actually took around almost 5 minutes. So I fast forwarded it. It took around 5 minutes. The query time is dependent on the server. This is hosted on IBM server, and I have seen very differently varying time for different queries. I have got the same result sometime in a minute, and sometimes like this 5 minutes. Somehow I have a sense that the Postgres one I think runs a little faster. That's the impression I have. I've not really been able to test it, but okay, let's see what is there in the table. Trans summary has been substituted. Now let's view the records, and we will do some validations. And this one, it took one iteration, right? So when in the first iteration it got the flagging logic wrong. It made a it was flagging logic wrong, maybe because the query was unclear. So I clarified that the same way, that this is how you need to use the flagging logic, cache and detail flag logic, and then it got the query right. I reviewed the query, and then we executed the query, and this we have it. Now we'll validate this. Now we'll need to validate this number. So I would like you to share two things with me. Number one is that the first thing is that I would like you to share 5 sample records in a table format. That's first. And the second is I would like you to share. I would like to see the total, some totals, grand totals for cache and retail, amount and transactions. The total across the whole data set. I just want to check if the totals are tallying with the previous numbers or not. So can you go ahead and execute this? So here we go, custody total cache amount. Now what I would like you to do is again create a new table, call it bank merged, or something. So now this summary table that you have created, I would like you to merge it back with the bank table, right, by cust ID, and it will be a join, left join, in a sense that I want all the records from the bank table to be there, right, and these records will get merged there, and all the new columns, whatever new columns you have created here, all those new columns should appear in the merged table, and all the columns from the existing bank table, all the columns should be there, and these new all the columns that you have just created should be there in the merged table. And when you are doing the merge, I would like you to add one flag, 10 flag, which indicates that the record has been matched with the transaction table. So wherever the record is getting matched, there will be a 101. It will be one transaction match. So I know how many numbers in the final table have got matched or are coming into the in the post merge table, right? So before you do this, can you just share your understanding and just show me the query? So this is the understanding it has shared, and this happened pretty fast. This took, I think, less than a minute, 45 seconds or something. So let's view the for this bank merged v2 table. Can you share the 5 sample records in table format, and in addition, can you share the totals or sum for those 4 fields, right? Cache sales amount, cache sale number, retail sale amount, retail sale number. Yeah, go ahead and execute. Sometimes the error is out, then we have to just do it again. So sample record, from this bank merged table that you have, I would like to create a portfolio summary. I would like to see a summary for my whole portfolio. It is sort of a KPI kind of a report, right? When you are share in a nice table format with markdown formatting, so it looks nice. So what it will have is, we want to give the whole portfolio view. So you start with the total number of customers, right, which is close to 1 million. So total number of customers, and then Next I would like to find, next will be how many of them are active. Who are the active customers, where the cache flag or the retail flag is 1, right? If either of the flag is 1, that means it is active. So number of active customers. Then find the percentage of active, which is that divided by that, you get the percentage active. Then the next set of matrices will be the total cache amount, total cache number of transactions, and the ATV, cache for cache. Again, when you are finding the ATV, again divide manually numerator denominator separately. Don't do the find it manually. Then the same thing you do for retail again, right? Amount, value, and ATV. Now you have to divide it for the portfolio. And same thing for total. You will have the total amount, number of transactions, and total ATV, right? And after that, I would also like to see the number of cache active customers and the number of retail active customers. So cache active customers are, that will be basically your count of cache flag, right? That will give you the cache active customer. And then the retail active customer is basically the count of the retail flag, or even the sum of the retail flag or sum of the cache flag. Either of them will give you the cache active and retail active customer. Then I would like you to find out few more matrices. One is cache sale amount per cache active customer. So you already have the cache sale amount total. You divide it by the number of cache active customers. So you get the cache sale amount by cache active customer. And next matrix is you find the same way for retail. Take the total retail amount and you divide by the number of retail active customers. So you get the retail retail amount per retail active customer, right? So these are the matrices you have to find out. So it's quite a long list. So can you do one thing? Can you share your understanding with me first, how you are going to compute this along with the SQL query, and then we will go ahead. Once I confirm, then you go ahead. SQL query, I have reviewed it. It is shared in very detail, and it has got it right. It has got it right in the first shot. Here it is saying count, but it is actually doing a sum here. So it has the SQL query at a at a quick glance, it does seem to be right. As you see, it's a fair amount of calculation that we are doing here within that query. So and it seems to be right. Let's see. We'll execute and see what happens. Execute. Actually looking okay before we go into this thing. But yeah, so we will look at the numbers, but yeah, it took a couple of iterations. So finally it was able to create the table. Then once it created the table, then I asked it to create a nicely formatted, can you create a nicely formatted markdown format, sequential, everything put nicely. So it created this profile summary report. But just to give you, I have fast forwarded the middle process. So we were looking, we got this query was not running, and there was an issue. The issue was, when it did the merge, even I missed this during the validations, when it did the merge, it forgot to take the cache and the retail active flag. So the query was erroring out. So once we put that flag, then everything came around, everything worked out. So it took me around 5 minutes, it took me around 5-10 minutes to run and figure out. This profile summary report is looking fine. Now I would like you to generate, using the same coding logic, generate the same thing, but this time I would like it to be grouped, right? I would like it to be grouped by the education variable. So I would like to see this profile summary education. So education variable, when you are creating it, you create a table, you give it some name, but you group it by the education variable, and your report format should be the same as you are sharing it now. And the education variable has probably 4 or 5 values, so that will come as column in the formatted report. Okay, so when you are formatting the report, that will come as side by side column, so we can look at the matrices side by side and compare. Okay, here we go. So we finally got it. It took a couple of iteration, or rather than rerun. I figured out that the MySQL server, the file did not get created. It had got error out, and I figured out that the MySQL server where I was hosting, it was for demo purpose. I had taken a free tier one, and I had taken, I think, two services there, and there's a lot of junk file which had got uploaded, so the server crashed. So I cleaned the file, just reran it, ask it to run it again, and you got it. So here you go, you have the now you have a now we have a profile summary report by segmentation, by these segments. Total line is not there, you can have that added, and since I requested it in the markdown format, I get this in this markdown format, and I am displaying it in this area, in this markdown format. Some of the statistical analysis capability of RICs, and so currently they are, I will say they are constrained. They can manage small data sets. So let's take a look. I had done a multi-collinearity matrix earlier in the demo. So for some of these small things, right, here this is like a A/B testing scenario. We have a responder, total customer response rate, and we want to find out the simple A/B testing, are they statistically different or not. So that it does a very nice job of it, with the PDF chart and so on. So that's a simple one. Then again, this is another simple one. Here I am looking at, here I was asking, I was trying to just see what it can do. This is live data, right? This is live data. The credit card e-com spend for India for August and September across the country from RBI. So small data set. So total e-com spend is this much, and average spend September was 10,800 rupees, and here it was 9,500. So question is divided by the number of credit cards, total number of credit cards across. So is it statistically different? So I wanted to see how it works, and also this again it was able to do pretty nicely. Some iteration happened and all, but it shared an approach. Basically, a simple approach was basically simple t-test, t-test, and it shared some nice diagram. This is the PDF diagram, right? So these two numbers, they are not statistically different. Then the next one I tried was, next one I tried to do was slightly same thing, but now I am doing finding the average for each bank. So here I am doing paired, right? So paired also it was able to do, it suggested 1-2 approaches, little bit of iterations happened, and it did it again, no significant difference, and graphs and all it is able to create very nicely. And again here, one thing in case you are trying to do it, so small data set, these small things work for the time being. Once I set up my custom code interpreter, then it will be connected to database, so it can do anything. So here it can run any Python code that you would like. So it has got access to all Python library. I am currently using a third-party code interpreter, E2B. Right now, so hypothetically that is it, but the way it is set up and all, currently it can only manage small data sets, and small amounts you can cut and paste here. But these kind of data sets, if you want to try out something linear regression, or want to try out something like this, then I find that pasting this in the body of the mail, it errors out. It is not able to parse it. Best is to convert it into a CSV, comma separated, or a pipe separate delimited file, and upload to a database and ask it to pick it up from there. So that works. So I had done this. The CSVs of this pipe delimited of this are available. They are also, I have uploaded them here also in case you want to just upload and try them. Then so these kind of things work pretty well. Then I also matrix is fine. This I had earlier shown, and with all the data is correlated, and all of it moves together. Then I also tried, DB scan clustering. How will it do it? So it shares a nice approach. It shares the whole code. So this is the code. It is supposed to, this whole script it will prepare and then run it, but errored out, and it never errored out. And then again same for linear regression. Also I tried something. It is not the right data set, very small amount, but just to try it out. So it shares the right approach and it shares the right code, but it was not working out, some odd weird results. So that's something you can try out in the next improved, as a bandwidth permitting and the time this thing. I'll set up a whole code interpreter, so then it can connect it to data, co-hosted with the warehouse, right? It needs to be co-hosted to the warehouse. Then doesn't make a difference whether we are talking about 100 rows or 100 million rows, or whatever, depend on the server. Then Okay, now let's look at how this is built up. Now so the remaining part of the video will be on building of it, so I will be covering the build part of it, but the quick help guide, or at least the source codes, basic source code and basic pointers and some additional help guides are also available here. So where is the help available? One is in this one, and the build here we have the this has so this gives you the how the app is organized. It has got the source code. These are all the repositories in the source code, and I will tell you what these repositories do and how they are connected and what is the flows of various items. And these are some additional guides here, right? So we will go into this. Now the number one thing which I have to cover, so these are additional guides, I will cover it at a different point. Now the first thing which I want to cover is Cursor AI, right? This app was entirely built on Cursor AI, and it was built at a, I don't think without Cursor AI or tool like Cursor AI I would have been able to even build a app like app or a prototype, even a prototype like this. And Cursor AI is a phenomenal tool. The way it converts your natural language into UI, for UI debuggings, for doing backend and so on. It just now many of the things are time consuming, but the scale and the speed and the accuracy that at which it operates is it's positively shocking, I will say. And for any serious analyst and programmers and developers, I think tool like Cursor, now there is a Windsurf also which is giving a competition. I'm trying that out, but the full end-to-end tool or aider is absolutely essential. And if you are still not thinking about it, this is a post from Andrej Karpathy, right? OpenAI, one of the founder member, and then AI sort of this thing at Tesla, and then he has a whole video about coding the GPT from scratch on YouTube. So his point 2-3 months back, what he is saying is that just empirically over the last few days of my programming with VS Code and Cursor, right, is now writing English, prompting and then reviewing and editing the generated diffs and doing a bit of half coding where you write the first chunk of the code and something, and sometimes you get a 100-line diff to your code that nails it, which could have taken 10 minutes. I mean, it doesn't take me 10 minutes, it takes me much more than that, but he's Andrej, right? I still don't think I got sufficiently used to all the feature, right? So phenomenal. Now there are many great, so this is the number one thing you got to, in case you want to replicate this or do anything, you got to get into Cursor or similar kind of full stack end-to-end build up tools. And I am also leaving, there are many numerous videos. In case you have not started it, you can take a look at any one of them, but there is one especially great video on Cursor. Actually there are two, the second link also I will add here. This is Volo Builds, right? So this is Volo Builds, this guy, huh? This guy is a solid, the way he explains, Cursor, the slow, easy, nicely has built 1 or 2 full stack app with authentication and backend separate, front end separate, beautifully explained. If you've got to watch any one playlist, this is the guy. This is where I got the idea of using shared CN. Now we come to this thing, and I will tell you how it is important. When we come to here, see, today if you have a code base and you have a Cursor or Cursor like tool, you pretty much, the code base is under your control. Finished, the matter is over. You can ask him how, you can ask Cursor how the code base works. You can start at a highest level. You might have to give some files and all, or a photograph of it. It can take photo-wise, right? You give a photograph or directory structure, it will direct you here and there. And it can tell you how the app works. It can tell you how it is connected. It can help you trace step by step the flow of each function from here to here. Some of the things even I forget after having done it. Where is that coming from? So I have to ask him, hey, that button, where is it coming from? So Cursor, I cannot talk enough. You have Cursor, you have it everything under control. You take a code base like this, you ask him, hey, what are the problem with this code base? Hey, what are the things which are hard coded? This thing is not working connection. What is it? It will guide you, and you will be all set. But I'll still be sharing how it is organized and so on. So that's about Cursor. Now the way this is organized is, like I said here, this is basically, this app has got 5 major components. This here is the main navigation UI. So this app main navigation UI, This is just navigation in the top menu. I'll show, I will give each in a brief. So this is just navigation in top menu built with shared CN, right? Shared CN has got very neat, nice, clean look. So I'm just, nowadays these apps and all are there built with that. Second is what I call this, analyze with AI. This is the second repo, GitHub repo. All the codes, all the links are here, right? This is the second GitHub repo. This is the main workhorse. Number 3, backend, there are 3 things. Number 1 is the FastAPI database connector server, FastAPI server, which acts as a, which is sitting in front of my SQL database. So anything related to the database is going to flow through them. The API call can come from anywhere. Third is the FastAPI server for creating this neon database. So this is a separate server. I did a separate server only for that. It could have been combined, doesn't make a difference, but you know, CreateDB is a separate server, and our Flowise LLM agent. Now Flowise LLM agent, so these 4 repos, links are there, and for LLM agent the schema, LLM agent is currently very simple, you know, it will be built out as we go ahead. That's it. Now what is there here? Understand here, this is very nice. All this top menu and all these are very shared CN has got a very solid thing. So this is just a framework. All these are individual apps. So these are all individual apps which I have developed over the period of last whatever year, and they are published and they have their own separate URL which is embedded. So this is iframe inside which it is embedded, and each of them have a separate repo. So you know, that's the way I was doing it. So couple of things which I have done, I am here, feel free to try it out. You know, there is something for automating Excel converting and so on, and this and that are there. So so that's all. So this is a menu, and I like that you can change the menu item and all, and there is a side menu here which I have kept it. I have just kept this side menu. I am not using it. This is for functionality later on if it is required. So it is just I've made it sort of incongruent so that it can't be seen hidden, right? So now here we are. So the number one, and where are they deployed? So I have deployed on all my all the React projects. I deploy on Vercel. You know, I've one-click deploy. I have covered in my previous videos also, enough videos on that. You know, GitHub repo, click, done, right? Of course, before that you need to do it npm build and error, then I need to remove the build errors and everything. But yeah, it works. FastAPI servers, the 2 FastAPI server, where are they deployed? So they earlier I used to deploy my servers on Render. So you can deploy it anywhere, wherever you are comfortable with. The Render has got the easiest one. I had shown earlier how to do it in my previous videos. You can do it on AWS Lambda if you want to do it wherever. But currently I have now deployed, I have taken a separate VPS on Hetzner for demo purpose only. You get a good deal, you know, get a 4 GB, you get a 4 GB this thing. You get a Hetzner if it is there, Hetzner. So Hetzner, I logged in, so we will see later on. So so you get a 4 GB server. So you get a 4 GB RAM, and I got a 80 GB HSD, or I think 8 GB RAM, 80 GB, 4 GB RAM, 4 CPU, or something. So for around €6 and all. I did not take the Intel one, AMD one. I took the Ampere one, but enough ample space. And there I am deployed Coolify. Coolify is like Render. So I can install as many FastAPI server as I want. One FastAPI server takes what, around 1 GB Docker, and 100 MB, 150 MB memory depending on the speed. I can install 20 FastAPI servers there. So I'm very happy with my Coolify. Some of the critical stuff I still keep on Render. So also those 2 are deployed on this thing, and agent is on Flowise. So the agent is this is the agent that is on Flowise, right? So we will cover all these one by one. Now this first repo, the first repo that I spoke about here, this repo, all these repos are shared, and it has got instructions of which is the starting directory, how to, you know, install it, run dev, and some of the important points that you need to take care of for each of them. You know, how to start and what are the environment variables and all, something we have to take care of. FastAPI has got nothing, right? It is just like that. So these repos are shared. Now so this is the main navigation UI that I was saying. So all that this has here, couple of things it has here. It largely a small, it's a very, this is a what, 400 page, only CSS most of it. It has got this top navigation menu, and for each of the item it has got the title, the description, what is the link, right? So this is shared, these are my public links. So these are the links, and these are the links for different repos which I had published open source sort of earlier. So once you create a repo, publish it, you update the title, description, help here, and the link here, and it will come. I mean, when I update it, I don't do it myself, I just tell them that, in the top menu in this section I want this thing, and here are the details. So it does it. Then I say, please update the help files also, like you had done for others. So it does that, and then I go and type in the help files, and it helps. This has the help file. So the help file that you are seeing, it is in the help menu, and for each section I have a build section and a help section. So how to build, how to use. So this is what you are seeing there currently on the site. So what you see, this app has got 5 major components. So this is in markdown format, right? Hashes and all. So there it will come like that rendered. So this top menu, shared CN, simple setup, menu item only. So I have kept menu item and the components separately, right? So this we have, this one, if you do npm install, npm run dev, or even deploy, immediately everything you will get here. But keep in mind, all the apps inside here my URL. So one by one you will need to either remove them, change them, or replace them with your own second level repos, right? So that's the number one repo. I think straightforward. And wherever code gets stuck, you can directly ask my developer, Cursor, or any LLM. Now let's come to the second repo. So now we will go to the repo number 2, which is this Analyze AI, the main workhorse, right? And there are many things, there are many points and things which I have covered in the GitHub repo as instructions. AI cursor will cover everything wherever you get stuck. But I'll give an idea. I'll go into each of the UI components, how they are connected, what is the flow, what happens where to where. There are around 8-10 API calls made during the time. More than that, and 5-6 are made to our LLMs. Now the first thing that we do here, so we'll start from here, right? And the code, if we see, this is cursor. So the code is like this, and the front end, the npm install, like I mentioned in my GitHub repo, you need to do in the front end directory, right? So this is front end. So you come here, and then you do the npm install, npm run dev from here, and it will work. App.tsx is the main file here, same like earlier, last one, app.tsx, and the UI components are kept in here in components and UI. The UI components are UI components, and the main boxes and all are kept here. Everything. .env file is there. We will go over it. App file is a huge, large file. I won't say it is the most organized code. Given time, I would like to have kept many of the components separate, but that's it. So let's see what's happening here. So what happens here first is right at the loading time, and maybe at the last, this is better to be covered at the last. Right at the loading time, one session ID is created. So I have which is used for Flowise and many other places, which is required, right? And Flowise, definitely it is required in order so that the AI chatbot has memory. So once it is created, and at starting there is Auth0, my auth provider here. I am using Auth0. So that check happens, and the credentials are checked, and if you are logged in, then it shows a logout button here. So 2-3 things happen at the startup. First thing, as we had shown in the demo, first thing we do is we click on connect here, right? And as soon as we click on connect, we click here and we send to AI agent, and then what happens is AI agent connection, we get a message saying that you are connected, and the schema is sent here. So where this and the schema is sent to the AI agent. So what is happening here actually then? Handle quick connect, this is the function. So here missing connection string, if you don't provide, it will give you an error saying missing connection string. So handle quick connect. Here what is happening, as soon as you put the connection string, whatever text and whatever thing you have put, first thing it stores that into session storage. So it is stored, the string as it is stored, because I am going to need it later on when we do the push to DB. So I will tell you how these are linked. So that string, raw string, is just stored, kept here. We'll come back to it. Then what I do is I take all that information, just the raw thing, and I am sending it to our LLM agent, Flowise API endpoint. So this Flowise agent is where this guy is sitting here, right? This is our this is it's a simple agent, as we go ahead, I'll build this out for specialized for different tasks and all. But so it is sitting here. So it comes, the API call is made to the Flowise API endpoint. I had shown you earlier how to get the API endpoint and all, right? You come here and this is the endpoint code. This is your this is the API call, how you make it, right? So you can create agents and whatever frameworks here and reach out by API. So I am asking the agent, then you take this text and parse it. Number one, you parse it, take out all the elements separately. Please check it whether the connection is checking or not. After doing the connection check, then you please get back to me with a message. If the connection is not working, then you say connection has failed. If the connection is working, then you mention that connection is successful, and then you share, I have tested the connection and it is working, and then share the database credentials, key things, that message that you get. So this happens here. So when it comes here, what happens? It comes here, it comes to the tool agent, it comes to this custom tool. This is the main work. All SQL queries from LLM pass through here or go there. So what is happening in this tool? This tool, the way it is set up is, use this tool to connect to database. The user will provide hostname database as a separate. I can provide it as a URI or I can provide it separate. So it will figure it out. The tool guy will, our tool guy will figure it out. Their LLM, right? Their export and this kind of thing. And a few other instructions are there that, no schema to be used for MySQL or for Postgres. You definitely need to use schema. There it continuously gets forgets, continuously makes a mistake, by the way. So if you are using it, just keep in mind, in case you get an error, and if it is Postgres, remind it, please use schema. So currently it is one agent, I just wanted to get something, up and running. Once we have a maker, checker and a flow, these things will go away. So it gets this agent will get the URI in text format. It will parse it. It will parse it into these parameters, right? The host standard DB connection parameter, right? Nothing great here. And then it will parse it, and then it will make an API call to, this is my main SQL hosting server. So it will make a call to here with all these connection parameters. So from here we go to the API server. So let's see what happens on the API server side. So this is, like I said, deployed there on Coolify and here. So it comes to, this is my API endpoint server. So the API, now this one is a very evolved, fairly more larger API code. The basic API code, to do the basic core of it, I had done a video and a guide, detailed guide how to, with code patches and how to install, I think a couple of months back. So you will find it in the links which I have shared. But here I have added many more endpoints, right? So one of the, and logging info and all. So here where it comes to this endpoint, this is my main workhorse endpoint. ConnectDB, is it? ConnectDB, must be ConnectDB. So this is my endpoint, right? App-get ConnectDB. It takes these parameters, right? And then executes the SQL query. So it takes the connection parameter. It creates the connection string. For MySQL, I use a MySQL connector. For Python, for Postgres, I use a Postgres connector. So currently these are the only two, but that covers everything pretty much, right? So the details, if you want to understand the details and all, I will leave it to Cursor can explain some of the granular detail wherever you have a doubt, or anything, any of the granular aspects, some of the flow and all. But I will give you, now it comes here, right? Now it takes the connection string, and what does it do? It has this SQL query and it establishes a cursor. This cursor is different than this cursor. So this cursor, if it is a SQL query, if it is a SQL query, then it will execute that query. If it is not a SQL query, non-select query. So if it is a non-select query, where we are updating or creating a table, then it will do a cursor commit, right? Connection commit. It does a commit here. It does a SQL query here, and then temp file is created. Actually, I create a temp file and then pass the result back to here. So here it will do a database connection. If it has failed, it will pass an error and so on and so forth. But that is the basic. Concept here. So from here, this agent has made the connection, right? It passes this string to establish a connection. Connection is established. Then, as per instruction, we are back here. It again comes back, and the message comes back to the UI here. I have tested the connection and it is working. That's the message that you see. So this circle is now closed. Now let's look at what happens in the next one. Next, this one I will take up last. So you have now uploaded the choose file, you have done so. File is now marked, picked up. Now you will do table. What happens in table? This open, the data table opens up here. This is a AG grid table, right? And there is a sequence of event which happens here, right? So the first thing when you do AG here, what happens is, as soon as you click on the table, I pick up the first header and the rows and send it to OpenAI. That please give me back the schema of this, whether it is a numeric or whether it is a string, because in this data table I do not know what file user is going to load, right? I don't know the header name, I don't know whether it's numeric, I don't know this with a string. Numeric will need to give the sorting option and so on. Now there is a lot of Python and JavaScript gymnastics you can do to find it out, but simplest way is I send it to LLM agent, right? So that is what quick connect, and then we are saying that create table function is here, get schema from GPT. So I send it, you are a Postgres schema. Oh, I should not have said it. That's fine. It is not a Postgres one, it does both. Analyze the first few rows of data, determine the appropriate column type, provide with description, return the schema to the specified in the JSON format. So this is the format, use so and so, get schema from GPT. And once we get the this thing, then we do we get the schema from GPT, and then we do show table. So then the interactive table is, that schema is taken, the interactive table, earlier I had different types of table, now it is only one table I have kept it. So that table is loaded, and that actual table component is setting here. So this is the actual table component with many of the specific things, they are incorporated here. So that calculator button and calculate statistics, all the statistics that you see. So those are the JavaScript, raw JavaScript. It happens in the browser in front end. Actually this whole app actually you can do in one page also. If you just want to do JavaScript and you are okay with everything being exposed in the front end, but in any case JavaScript, the whole bundle, everything is exposed anyway. So calculated statistics. So here you are finding the mean, median, mode, variance, and all those quartiles and so on, so forth, right? So schema comes in. Once I know it is numeric and string, those headers are put into AG grid header. The numeric are treated numerically, right? They are given the whatever that filter numeric filter box, and we compute those statistics which I have shown earlier there, right? And so that's about the data table, right? So that's all to the data table. I think it's a pretty straightforward one. Next is structure. Structure and analysis are very simple. Here what we are doing is, as soon as somebody clicks on a structure box, I again take the first 10 lines of data, send it to AI, please analyze this and get back with your views on the structure. So what is the prompt? This is the same prompt. Okay, it's not coming here, that's fine. So this is the prompt here. Where is the prompt here? How is it connected here? So default structure prompt. So this is the prompt I am sending. Please analyze the so and so, and above there is the analysis prompt. So both the prompts are here, and you can change it here, and the same thing is shown in that custom box in case you want to change it. And after that an API call is made. Where is the API call made? Here only somewhere I send it to. Anyway, the API call is made. I'm not able to find where it is this thing. But now these are the things. So API call is made to the OpenAI agent, my agent, and then we get back the response from there. So important thing. So for example, now the response that we get back, I had requested it has to come in a markdown format. So I had given a format for the response someplace. I am not able to find it. That I need when it comes, the response comes back. If you see the response when it comes back here, it is very nicely formatted. So I had given specification in H1, H2, H3, this color and code and so on. So it is here somewhere. And wherever you want to trace a flow, you go to chat and you just voice type it here. Hey, can you help me trace the flow? There is a top button there, right, called structure. So can you help me trace the flow of what happens when somebody clicks on structure? Take me step by step, right from start to end. I'm just giving an example. You can do it for any of this thing. It has got a great tier. $20 you get 500 fast request, which is Claude 3.5 immediate response, and after 500 are over, then unlimited you get what is called slow response. So you are in a queue, but the queue goes away very quickly. Unlimited Claude is already 3.5 unlimited. Otherwise, even if I take the API key, I burst my 1 million in a couple of hours. Tokens gone. So initial button click, this happened, right? What I showed you there. Then the drop down menu appears. Okay, that quick connect and that drop down menu appears. Then the quick structure is clicked. So when you click, this happens. Then the custom structure is clicked. Result displays are there, and all the API calls and the flow you will find. You will find it here. But conceptually or basic custom structure, same thing. You can change the you can change the prompt here. Same thing, same flow for analysis. Analysis now, structure I sent 10 rows, analysis I think I sent 100 rows. 100 rows, right? Analysis, no, this is something else only. A slice, this is where they are slicing it, right? So analysis I am sending set analysis state. So analysis I am sending, I slice 100 top 100 rows I send for analysis, whatever data. If you want to send 1000 rows, you do that, but then the backend OpenAPI also have their limits and all that, so those things are there. And so 100 rows goes out, and then prompt is defined that please look at this and please share it back in this I want this, do this, don't do that, and I request him input, and then it comes here, right? So it comes here, it is displayed here. So in this display box also, this CSS style is very specifically defined. I had put this CSS style that this H1 has to be like this, H2 has to be like this, color has to be like this, which you can change. So that takes care of it. Is there somewhere in that boxes. It will be in these boxes. Analysis display, and I think a second box, a quick analysis display. One is this, one is that. Then we have the generate PDF. This was one very nifty idea. I just came across this. So you get this PDF. How does this happen? This PDF I make an API call. So there are many ways you can do it. You can do it in a Python package, a JavaScript package, whichever way. But here I wanted to take a shortcut. So you can do it. Where app.this thing. So this is a very nice PDF. Is I do a API call to where is that site? Somewhere it should be there only. This side. This side. So I came across many sites to API call. This is a nice one. Works very quickly, very efficiently, very fast. It works out. And then you make an API call. There you have some options that you can give. And while making the API call, you can give a CSS. So I give my specified CSS. It's somewhere sitting. That is somewhere sitting here. I don't know, but it's a very that I give that CSS so that I get the result back in this format. So that PDF site, what it accepts is MD to PDF, Markdown to PDF. So I send the data in a Markdown along with CSS. So it takes the Markdown, it takes the CSS and sends me back the data which I want. It doesn't have too many customization options, but the concept here is, this concept here is anything else you want to do. You want to create a custom report, using, so it is taking charts from here, it is taking data from there, and you want to make a multi-page report with tables, charts and all. So it is doable. It will take a little bit more effort, Cursor will do it very fast for you. That API will not work, in which case then Python has got JavaScript also. I am sure will have a lot of many of those. So Python has got a lot of libraries where you can do you can then customize and create that whole report thing, and you can do it. So this is just to showcase that anything can be customized into a canned report, whatever you are getting here. So that takes care of structure and analysis, right? AI chat button we will cover. Now we come to the next one, which is push my DB. So we have seen these UI elements now. Once we have chosen the file, right? Or if we have not chosen the file and you do a push to DB, then what will happen? You will say first you have to choose a file, or even then, one more thing. The UI is like this. Here, if I just say push my DB, then I'll say first you have to choose a file. So okay, you have chosen a file. Now, if you do push my DB, then what happens? Please connect to a database first, right? So this is part of the UI. You have to connect to a database. Then you connect to a database and you give your credentials here, right? So I have some temporary credentials someplace. So we will log in with the temporary one. These are all temporary ones. So now this we have seen what happens. Send to AI agent. We have seen this part is stored here. This part, raw part is stored. It goes so on and so forth. Now we can do push my DB, right? Escape here. Now I can do push my DB. So now what is happening? I will show you the code in the backend. Now what is happening at this point in time? That parsed credentials I am converting into actual JSON. I am creating an API call and sending it to my FastAPI server. The FastAPI server, from there it makes an API call to my agent to get the schema, because I don't know the name and I don't know whether to do create table. We need the schema. To create table we need the schema. So the LLM agent sends the schema back here. We do create table, we upload the file, then we say file uploaded and the name is put here. Then I again connect back to the same table, take out sample rows and take out the schema and send it to the agent. And with the instruction to the agent, once you have seen it, please say acknowledge, right? So this is the database. So this is the cycle from push upload. The schema, it ends when the schema goes to the agent again. Here is the database name and here is what it is there, and please acknowledge, please act enthusiastic and so forth. Right? Then it gets back with this. So now in this case, if you directly ask a question here, it will know. I don't need to show it sample rows or something, because it has got the schema and it has got the sample rows and the schema, so it knows what to do. So if I just ask here, hey, can you share the top 10 banks by the number of debit cards and a chart also? So I don't need to now explain anything to it. If all works well, it will share a list here and will share a chart there. So we had already gone this is something we had already gone over, so I won't go over it again, but anyway, it will come. Agent stopped due to some my Flowise server is crashing a little bit. I need to figure out there is some issue happening there. So now we come to here. So push my DB, what happens as soon as you do a push to DB, RB, no, not this code, we have to go to handle push to my DB. So this is first function, no database connection, then it will remind the database connection, then it does a parse credential. Parse credential means those credentials, if you remember, those text file which we had stored here at this point in time, we had these things are stored in the session memory. So now I go and I pick this up and I parse it and using parse credential. So the parse credential function is there, so we parse it so that I get the username, DB name, password separate for the file upload for the file upload process. So let's trace how does it, what happens in the parse this thing. Parse happens here. For parsing, I send a text again back to the agent. So parse credential is there, so I send it back. I send that whole string again back to AI, that these are the credential strings, please send this back to me in this JSON format. I need all of these separately in order to establish the connection. So I from the agent, our Flowise AI API, no, here I am making a call to directly OpenAI. So please send me back this thing, and I get this connection details. I get back in this format to establish a connection, including a DB type, which is very important. I will tell you next why. So from here, I got the connection. Now from there it goes to handle custom push to DB. So here, by this time I have received the connections. Now I am going to for constant form data. So now I am going to create for API call. I am creating the form data with the file form data append.file. File is being appended. Then the endpoint, API endpoint, will depend on whether it is Postgres or MySQL. So I have two separate endpoints, and I will explain. We will go to the API endpoint code, and I will explain why it is. So I mean the syntax are different basically, right? Syntax are different. In Postgres I'm using copy, here I'm using batch insert, and so on. From the then I'm getting the query which is required to upload the file. So it's a specific query, right? So there I need to give all the parameters, right? Or these are all parameters for that. Whole connection string is passed as a parameter. Passed as a parameter. Separate parameters. The API endpoint. This is my FastAPI endpoint, and we'll go there and see what has happened. So there, then here is where we are making an Axios request, right? Response. I am making a response here. Full URL is this. Form data is the file, and it is sent there. Where does it go? It comes to my API server. API server. It will come to this endpoint, right? PG upload file custom, right? This is the FastAPI server code now, which I had earlier mentioned, right? It's what 300-400 lines, couple of hundred lines, not too much. 1,000 lines maybe, not too much. So here it comes. So then it upload. There are many different endpoints for different purposes, right? Upload file custom DB. So this is for upload file. So file upload. Endpoint. Custom DB means I'm sending a connection string. So I also have the same whole app is also available in a form that is directly connected to an existing warehouse. So then there is no connection string passed in. It's a direct connect, right? Or you can change the connection on the fly based on the backend authentication. But this is for when you are sending the custom DB connection, and PG is Postgres. So all these things are received here, and it creates a Postgres table based on whatever the details are shared. Important point here is this. From here, the first thing which happens is, one of the first thing is, I take the first couple of header as well as the couple of rows, and it is sent to my agent, again LLM agent, the Flowise guy, right? It is sitting at here. Here it comes, lands up here. For what? I'm asking it to please please send me the schema name in this format. I need to know the column name and the column type, right? For all of them I need to know the column name, column type, description, and whatever. For this is required to do the create table, because when I'm doing a create table, different users will upload different files. I don't know their I don't know their headings, what is the heading, and whether it is a numeric or a string. Now, like I said, there is a lot of stuff you can do with Python and this thing, but I did try that, but it was getting too complicated. This is a simple system. It goes to the LLM. It converts, it gets back with the standard Postgres type, text, numeric, so and so. Integer, I told them don't use integer. There was some problem was happening. I forgot what happened. Something integer was integer. Very often it will some number it will put as integer, but later on there was a decimal, so it was failing. So everything I made decimal only. Output only JSON schema. So once this call, this async with this call, once this call is made, then we get the LLM response. Then we pass that JSON response. From there we generate the table name. We pass a table name we generate. So table name, what I am done is I am taking the table name is generated using the file name, and after that I am putting a 5-digit random number, because very often I might be uploading the same file and so on. So that's why that's the number that you see at the end of it. Now Now we have got the table. Now I connect to the Postgres database connection. So here you are establishing a connection. I am establishing a cursor. Then the create table is somewhere. Then the create table happens. Create table, if not exists, it happens. The schema and table name, everything is coming from what we got from the LLM agent. So create table, once it is done, then file is uploaded and I use the copy command. This copy command is a fantastic one. Postgres warehouse around 600 MB of file, 600 MB of file which has got say, around, there were one depend on data set also, right? My one data set had around 5 million record and 600 MB. It gets uploaded in around 3.5 minutes, finished. Whatever the file size, 30-40 seconds are required for all this processing. uh, Anyway, so and it gets uploaded, but MySQL takes a little longer. It doesn't, as far as I know, or from what I know I could find out, there is no cursor command like that. There is no copy command. There is an in-file command. But so once it is done, then the API, the API server, this returns this back, status, success message, table name, and so on is returned back to, upload is done. It is returned back to the UI. So UI, I received that, and that is where the toast comes saying that 64 rows uploaded, right? And the message is being sent to AI, and the name name is shown here. Excuse me. So with that, this loop is closed. Similarly for DB MySQL, the same thing is there. Syntax is slightly different. We are not using copy there. I'm not using copy there. I'm using a batch insert. So I'm uploading in batches of 15,000 records. So that goes into the memory of MySQL. Then I'm committing at the rate of, I think, 10 batches, so 150,000. It's here somewhere, I forgot. 15,000, batch size is 15,000. So 15,000 rows in one batch goes into, sits into the MySQL memory. Still not committed. 10 batches are done. When 10 batches are done, 150 record, then I do a commit. So it goes into the database, commit happens, right? So I tried a couple of combinations, but it still takes far longer, almost 2 to 3 times the time it takes for Postgres. That 600 MB one, there Postgres will happen in 3.5 minutes. Here it will go to 8 minutes, take probably 8 minutes. Now this message again comes back to UI saying that file uploaded here. Immediately back to back, what happens? Immediately back to back, one more process happens now, which is fetch and analyze schema. Now I am going to reach out from here, from the UI front end. I am going to pass a SQL query. Again, there's a little bit of duplication or maybe there. I am going to pass a SQL query again to my endpoint. This SQL query endpoint. This is a different kind. This is a different endpoint. No, this is not required here actually. Anyway, this is not required here. This is some remnant. Okay. So I will be passing a API query to the database, to the newly created table, pulling out the schema, the column structure, type of column, and sample 5 rows. I will be sending that to LLM agent. So here fetch and analyze schema, when we go down, parse CVLine into structured data, as you see here. So I'm getting the schema and a table, and this is where I'm getting construct the URL. This is the URL to get the sample data, so I get the sample. So here we are basically getting the structure and the URL and the sample data. This is the URL being this is the URL being constructed to make the API call directly from here. And the sample query is this, select star from this table name, limit 10 rows I'm pulling out, and I'm pulling out these details. I'm pulling out these details are pulled out, packaged, and that package is sent to our API agent here. Send schema to agent. So send schema to agent. I'm sending the schema to it. I'm saying I'm sharing the schema for sample data so and so. Please study it, analyze it. And once you have studied and analyzed it, respond and confirm that you have studied the schema and all, and share a few lines of your thought and eagerness to assist. And this is the API call. Actually, API call is here. I'm doing a fetch request here. Simple, straightforward fetch request. Where does it go? It goes to the Flowise API endpoint. Important point is session ID is important. This override config and session ID is very important. This, because of this session ID, that my AI agent will have the memory. So past things it remembers. Otherwise it will forget. Otherwise it will be one-on-one call only. So it schema goes to that AI agent. The AI agent will look at the schema and it will send back this response. I have seen this thing. It is supposed to sound eager. I'm eager to assist you with any question, right? So that closes this loop. Now we come to the next one is which create DB. Now create DB. Now this is tied up to Auth0 authentication. So because we are creating a DB, I wanted to keep a record of folks who are creating a database. I am having them do authentication with I'm using Auth0 at the backend. I will cover Auth0 also right away. And I had to set it up. I had to set it up. I mean, I'm not new cursor, but and cursor. This one cursor guided me step by step. Okay, do this one, step 2, step 3. Okay, so what happens when when somebody clicks the create DB? So it goes to create neon. Right from here, an API call is triggered. This call goes from here to the Neon API server, the FastAPI server, which I have installed on Neon, and later I will spend a little time when I'm talking about those repos, little time on Neon also, as well as hosting of it and some of the related aspects. So this is again hosted on Coolify. We will cover that when I am covering the FastAPI servers. So this is a standard your FastAPI code, and there are only two endpoints. One endpoint actually, one is just for testing. So all the environment variables are given. I have to give my Neon project ID and so on, and then this is the API. So from there it now lands up here. Now what is happening here? Here basically we are creating the database, but before we create a database, before we create the database, we need to create the user here. Yeah. So here we create the role, which is the user. So this is directly available. This is a very simple. They have got extensive. They have got a great documentation. They have got great documentation for API and all this. Very easy to use. I mean, when I am using it, I just copy paste that relevant. I just copy paste that relevant part. Create database. I just copy paste this. Give it to cursor. Say that this is the way you have to set up the API. Of course, there is a bit of iteration which happens and so on, but it happens pretty easy to set up this. So first thing is to create a user. So we create a user here. So we create a user here, owner name. So owner name, I'm giving whatever the name the user has given. I just prefix it with something. I say just say user underscore. I user underscore, and then it becomes a user name. Now I've got the user name. So once I get the user name, and there are error messages and all which are there, then I create a database. Because database needs the owner name. So the nickname I am just keeping it just like that, and the owner name. So the database API call is made to this. This is the API endpoint for Neon. So simple, straightforward, very simple API call. API call is made, and then we receive the. After that, I need to retrieve the user password. So if I'm sharing the credential with the user, right? If I'm not sharing the credential with the user and I'm going to working with the backend, is different thing. But I'm sharing the credential with the user, so I need to retrieve the password. So to retrieve the password, there is a separate URL. I just need to give the branch name and the role username. Reveal. I just have to give reveal password. That's it. Nothing else is required, and the password comes. So once this is received, then all the response data. So all these details, host name, database name, so on. So this is now passed to the UI, to the front end. So there it lands up in the UI, and there, as you would have seen, when we create a database, a box comes and it is displayed in the box that these are your credentials. Now, as soon as that box comes here, as soon as their box is received, at the same time I again execute that initial call. I again send that whole schema, not the schema but the connection details to the API agent like earlier. Same process follows. Now it will to again test the connection and check the connection. So background, the message is displayed, and at the same time AI agent, like I had shown in the demos, AI agent is then checking the connection, and then it shares the message that the connection is successful. So from here it will get passed on to that same function. What was the function name? Handle quick connect, right? It is passed on to the same handle quick connect function, and the connection is checked and the message is given that the connection is ready for the user. So at that point in time, once you have created a new connection, it is already connected, connection is established, and the user can immediately upload the file and push to DB. It will go to that DB right away on the fly. So from database creating this database to creating this database, getting the credential, checking it to push my DB, it's like less than a minute, right? So I will talk about when I go into the Neon API code and all. At that time I'll just spend some time on Neon also. In fact, right now, immediately after this. Now other thing which I do in addition to this is, for the database which are being created, now I am not creating the database on fly, something I'll talk about in a little bit. I am creating the database and giving the database to the users. I could do this totally on the back end, something which can be done with Neon, and I will share the API when I talk about the API, I'll talk about it. So I want some mechanism of authenticating the users and keeping a record which user has created which database, right? So the way I am doing it is, one is that Auth0, I implemented it only for this, and we will I think talk about it immediately after this. And so that Auth0, once the user is logged into Auth0, now we have the Auth0's the email ID, the user profile is given by default, right? When we click on that, when we consent, when we agree, the email ID is part of the authentication. So email ID we have. So I create a packet with the user's email ID from the profile and the name, we'll see that, and the database credentials. So that packet I send it to make.com. Make.com, from there I update it goes into one of my docs, Google Docs. So let's trace the flow. So here, where is it gone? Make.com webhook URL. So here the database this was the message which the user would have received. Database was created, but this is AI analysis failed. New database created with nickname, and then the whole it is passed to the AI agent. This is what I was talking about. It goes to the handle quick connect for checking and all that. Once that is that happens in the background, and you get the message. And now after successful database creation, then this is the database. This is what is shown to the user in that block. Then I send it to make.com URL here. Yeah, this is the make.com URL here, right? And here, what do I send it to? So this URL, I send it to this web make.com URL. What do I send it? I send it this JSON stringify text data. Just pure bunch of text is given out with a notion data. It goes as a data, this thing. So there I pick up data, and what goes out? Webhook data. So this webhook data, this is for make.com. This webhook data, all this string like this is created. One long row of string is created, and it goes to make.com. So let's go to make.com. This webhook I am declaring in the environment variables, right? So you can create a webhook like this here. So it comes to make.com. And make.com webhook, how to create a webhook from zero, how to listen it, how to make a change, how to connect Google Docs, Excel databases to webhooks. I had covered in that one of the part 3 or part 4 or one of the parts of my 5-part series in detail, very step by step and all. So from here webhook, it comes to this Google Docs, where I have given the name of my, I have chosen the drive, and I have given the document is NeoDB users. So from here, when it is triggered, it comes here. comes here. So it comes here. These are our test TP, so nothing to worry about. This is actually one row. This is actually one single row. This is one single row, so it can be picked up. And so this is just to keep. This was a little shortcut method. This is a little shortcut method. I just wanted a quick record of it. Ideally, you have the option of pushing this into you can push this into wherever you would like. You can push this into MongoDB, Firebase, SQLite, MySQL, wherever you'd like. You can push it. You can push it directly. Make.com is not required. This was a very quick workaround. I just wanted to get something on the way. You can directly make an API call right here, back to back. Right, you can make a API call right here, back to back, and directly send it to wherever you would like to keep the record of it. And from next time the user logs in, you can also check the user. Hey, you already have this database, right? All those things can be. You already have this database. Would you like to use that? So I'm not. They can be done as depending on what your use case. Is. Now let's go into Neon. Right? So Neon, this is the API code for Neon. So this, I think there was the API code we have already covered. There is only one API endpoint which I create, and this is a testing endpoint. Now Neon is one fantabulous platform for AI apps, especially where you want to provide a functionality like this for user to create an app on the fly, or you may not want to, or you want to create an app on the database on the fly in the backend. So let's look at Neon. And even the pricing, free tier is good for testing and all, and even the pricing is very good. So Neon. So Neon, if you see, this is my demo account. So you have projects. So free tier you get 500 MB, and then the pricing tier, different pricing tiers you get different this thing. You have this thing. Different limits are there. So within your account you can create projects. These are like for different. These are for different purpose or different organizations or different clients. It can be. Right now these are all. This is the whole account, the demo account. Within a project. So this is my Rex users projects which I have now. This is where this project is where I am creating the databases for Rex users. So this is not a database, this is a project. So inside a project, then you have inside the project you have a main branch, and below that you have the databases. So basically inside a project you have a databases. By default it is called main. There is a concept of branch in case you want to create a main branch and a subsidiary branch. But for our sake we are always creating in the main branch. So below a project you can have databases. I think it says that you can create up to 500 databases here, right? So on the fly you can create 500 databases up to it. I think it's depends on the memory of this thing all. So here, where are those databases created? When I do the call there, so main branch is the main branch. I give the main branch ID, and inside the main branch roles and databases. So you say these are the couple of handful of test users and the databases which have been created. So during the when main testing was going out, I had some 100 databases here, 60, 70 databases, long list had happened. I'll show you how I delete and manage it. So you can create this inside a project 500 databases. Free tier you can create 10 projects, and you can create 10,000 databases subject to the 500 MB limit, right? And you can connect. These days are databases. You have a SQL editor here, or like any other database. You can. I use dbeaver. So to connect to whether it is Amazon or Neon Supabase, I use dbeaver to connect to these databases. So dbeaver 24. This is available as a download from the website. Very efficient tool. It can connect to MySQL, Postgres, both of them. Standard UI. You can connect to a database. You can see the schema, tables, upload, download, both of them. You can do. Now Neon documentation is excellent. This is one of the best documentations for this kind of thing which I have seen. You can just rely on the documentation and get the thing done. Somebody has taken a great pains and great effort to create this documentation. And API reference is again excellent. Everything is connected via, they have got extensive API, very simple to use an API. So this is a API endpoint for create database. So if I want to create a database, so whatever you want to do, create database, delete database, all kind of operation API is there, which means that everything can happen backend programmatically, right? So branch, create a database, very simple stuff. This is a post request, this is the API endpoint URL, and body parameters, I have to pass these body parameters. So if you are creating an API, you have to be clear about architecture. Once you are clear about architecture, then on that on button press, an API call has to be made here, and the create database, that flow, if you are clear, you give it to cursor step by step in small bits and pieces along with this documentation. The whole documentation you can pass to cursor. Either you can pass it like this, you can pass it to cursor like this with ampersand a, and if you ask it to review it, and it can pick it up from there, or you simply just copy this, ask it to set up a proper FastAPI endpoint with error catching, logging, response data to be sent in so manner. So we use the create database, then this is the create role database. That first we need to do a create role, and then we do a create database, and then there will be a get role password, then I get the role password. So all of this in the code. This is where I took the documentation, gave it to cursor, asked it to set it up properly. I gave it the architecture that this is how it needs to be done. That first you have to get the user, then you have to get the then you have to create the password, then you have to please get the then you create a database, then you please create the extract the password, then you please do this in this sequence. So at every time, so these are back-to-back API call that it does inside here. So inside here, it's an API call. Output is passed to the next. Output is taken. It waits, take the output, passes to the next API call, takes the input, passes to the next API call, and then finally it is passed to the UI. So this has got tremendous possibilities. So this users databases, it gets created in a second, right? Like I had shown, you can create a database in a second, like I had shown earlier. Login is with auth. Okay, I logged in. So it's very fast, right? I say create database, I say whatever I want to say, I say create database, and this took what, 1, 2, 3 seconds, right? And of course server speed, other things, depend on other thing, it comes immediately here, it goes to the backend, it goes to the AI agent for checking it. AI agent will check it. So here's the important part. Here I wanted to give that functionality. I am creating the DB, and they can use it in case they want for a day or two, and so on, in case you want to give the temporary database access, but need not be given, right? The other way to use this is I can keep this whole thing at the backend for a users. Say they don't have a database, and they still want to use something like this, and creating this and all, this is a hassle, right? You may not want to have the user create a database or bring the database. It can all be done in a backend. So what will happen in a backend is as soon as the user says push to my DB, I can ask that would you like to bring your DB, or shall I create a DB, or doesn't even make a difference. In the backend I can immediately trigger an API call that if there is no connection given, I can ask, or I can trigger an API call if no connection is given. Then right in the backend here only, that API call, create API call, that backend that call is triggered, right? So that same thing happens. This with whatever is happening with the create DB button will now happen without the create DB button. So create neon database will happen. It will come here. It will check the database, and we may or may not give this message. We may not even tell the user that the database is there. Directly the file is uploaded, and the user is told that here is your file. It has been uploaded to a temporary database with so and so nickname. Feel free to use it for upload for this session. And as soon as the session is refreshed, so it will remain till the life of the session. As soon as the session is refreshed or something, then we trigger a second API call, delete database. So database is deleted, right? So there are different ways, there are different possibilities and combinations that you can do. You can give that. You can use something like Neon. You can provide it a facility to create a database. You can totally do it in the backend, so user is not even aware that a database has been created and being used. And it's very fast, right? So I'm extremely impressed with the speed at which the database gets created, and the API documentation and all. It is just a breeze, right? Now when the database gets created, for again you for cleaning and the management of it, you can create a small mini UI for yourself, right? Either can be done in whichever way. We would like to delete the database in some manner and form, so you can create it can be set up. I do it manually. I will just show you how, but you can, it's easy to just set up a, you can set up a scheduled job or a cron job for that, which will run every day, every 2 days. Look for the last activity, delete it whichever way. I have not got around to it currently. During testing, 50, 70, 80 databases get created. So for manually, I am just using this API. This API has got delete a database, right? It has got delete a database. So this is a delete a database, this thing. So I am just using it manually. I am doing it. I'm just doing it manually with Python, right? So I will list whatever, this is the databases. So I will list the databases. Same API code it uses. I make an API call from. I make an API call from here. My credentials are inside there, so I will just keep it like this. So API call are here, so it is connected. So I will just it's a package code that GPT only make it with that thing. So I will say list databases. So these are the DB list which comes. So I set it up in a manner, okay, I will review it once. These are all temporary databases, I don't need them. Then I'll go to delete databases, and delete databases. This DB list is passed there. I'll pass this DB list there. I run this patch, and it deletes the database, goes one by one. I had to give some delay. I had to give because it was something was there, but databases are deleted. Now the users are also created, right? So then I'm saying that list the users, and list the user. There is a neon-db owner name also comes in, but I have given in the code. I am excluding that. I have exclude list in a neon-db user, and neon has to be excluded. So you get the role. So this is simple, straightforward Python code. Now this is some old list. So the user code I will pass here, and you run it. So this is manual, right? But I ran out of bandwidth. There is no bandwidth. Otherwise, I would have just created an internal admin simple UI, test user check, last activity day, show a table, mark it, and delete it. It's easy enough to create that kind of a UI for your own admin purposes to manage the users, and the user list is kept in your own database someplace with activity, last activity, and all last activity and stuff like that. You can pull from the API. Right. So that's about Neon. Okay, now let's cover some of the remaining functionalities. So what remains? Now we have covered all of this. Now what remains is this data structure analysis. I think these boxes we have, these things we have covered. And AI chat box, it is just a simple, straightforward chat box element which I had asked it to prepare. And as you would have seen, different points in time when messages are received, when we upload a data or create a connection, I am having that same message once it is received. Once that message we receive from the backend server or from the API call, they are being just shown here. There is no memory being kept here, right? You keep in mind, chat box. I am not managing the chatbot memory or the context. All that is managed at the Flowise agent level. So that's an advantage. One advantage. I don't need to manage all that piece. So that we will cover when we cover the AI. When we cover the AI agent. So these elements are covered in case formatting and all. I gave there is specific CSS styles and styles which I wanted. So where is it here? So those are covered in the there is a display box analysis display box, and the tabs cover the overall tabs. I think that's pretty much to it. It's standard flow. At this text, there is a text box. I wanted some standard functionality here. Earlier pressing enter was not going in, so that I enabled. And if it is a multiple line, so I wanted a multiple line, so that text box, it is in the chat box here, in the text box display somewhere it is there. Now this chart is one little important piece. This is a little tricky one in the sense I am not displaying the chart when the message is received, not in that box. I am displaying the chart which is here. So this chart is rendered by Flowise, right? Because my backend is Flowise, it is comes by Flowise. So there is a specific URL which needs to be constructed. So this is image URL. So this is the URL which needs to be constructed. It is a Flowise URL, and you have to give your chat flow ID is given here. So ideally now this should not be here. This has got hard coded. So during any time you are changing, this will cause a problem because this chat flow ID ideally it should be picked up from the environment variable where I'm giving the Flowise API endpoint. So that is chat flow ID is there. So it should be picked up from there ideally, but that's fine. Just this is something you have to keep in mind. This chat flow ID is there, and then this is how that URL is constructed, and then it is picked up and it is kept in a session memory, and it is then it is displayed here. So as soon there is a listener there somewhere, right? In the main box there is a listener for this thing chart, and chart comes in, it is displayed here, and for all these elements, these are the functionalities which I had added. Whether chart, you can display it comes like this, and one charts are displayed in this one below the other. In another app, I had displayed the chat in an array. In the second real-time agent, it was an array which it scrolls right. So I just tested this out. So you can use whichever you would like. And all the boxes, this expand and button, these buttons and hide interface and these cursor, once you specify exactly where you want that button and what it should do, it will set that up. The error and all comes, so you need to try to, it needs a little bit of iteration sometimes. So that is charts. These documents are here. There are some functionalities here which I have. One functionality which the agent has is that in case there is something which you want to push into your docs, you just say push into my docs and it will come here. So this is a functionality which I had shown earlier with the real-time agent as well as the analyzer agent. Here I have not gone into it, but this gives a functionality that and in that other functionality, one other functionality which I had shown was ability to update an Excel sheets and the Google Sheet. So I just kept a placeholder here. I have some thoughts of building about document integration functionality similar to what I had done earlier, shown in my previous videos. So I kept this here. I'd shown a detailed video about how to integrate this, how to publish it, how to give the links and so on. So I won't go into it here, but it's there. Right. So that takes care of the all the functionalities. I think we have pretty much covered, right? I think that's the functionalities. Now I'll cover some remaining aspects of the Flowise, the repos, this Neon, the FastAPI server. FastAPI server, Neon server I have already covered. We have covered Neon also. The FastAPI server, main one, I will cover one or two aspects which are remaining there. This FastAPI server, this has got many endpoints now. Earlier it used to have only one endpoint when I had earlier demoed, which will pass an SQL query. So these are endpoints for different purposes. I just give you a broad idea. So this is a SQL query. This works when there is a when the connection is already established here. So if I want to give a user if I do not want to give the user the ability to connect to their own databases, then the connection can be hard coded here. When I say hard coded, currently it can be hard coded here, or it can be created on the fly in the backend. So there are cases where you may not want the user to create their own databases. So in which case the connection will be created on the fly in the backend. Then you can use an endpoint like this. The database credentials are kept here. No need to keep it here, right? It can be kept in one of the authentication databases. But this is just to get things started. So this is SQL query, only takes the SQL query assuming that the connection is already set up. So it uses the connection, whichever is get connection cloud. It uses the connection. Cloud is the cloud variable. So this was for a different purpose. If the user says AWS, it will use the AWS connection. If the user says Neon, it will use a Neon connection. So that's another functionalities. These are components, and you can do mix and match and give whichever kind of functionality you would like to provide your user. You want to provide them single fixed connection, you want to give them multiple fixed connection with an option, or you do not want to give them an option itself and you want to do that in the backend yourself, in which case these variables will be kept someplace else and done on the fly based on the user authentication. There are some things, they are all the various declarations, and these are for the hard-coded variables. Not ideal to keep it here actually, not even an environment variable, but that was just for working prototype, so best is to keep those things separate in a backend. These are things which are required for proper functioning and all. And so SQL query is a standard SQL query. Two types of queries. So this one I had described in detail in my earlier videos, but I'll touch upon quickly. Two types of queries. If it is select query, it runs a select query. If it's non-select query, then it's a cursor. It's a connection commit is used, right? And a cursor is used. The database cursor is used. Upload file LLMPG. So this is file upload. This is a file upload. This is a different functionality which I had, but I have currently disabled it. This is for a database which is currently connected, hard connected. You have a database where things are happening, where the user is not given, and a database is hard connected. In which case, if you want to upload the file, then it uses this endpoint, because then I don't need to pass the DB connection. These things are anyway available. So that is for that. That functionality is there, but I have actually disabled it currently. It can be enabled it, or you can do a separate repo or an app for that. Same for upload file. If our existing database, backend connected database is MySQL, then this is the endpoint where it goes to. And the upload, how the upload works in SQL query, they are very similar. Upload everywhere upload works the similar way. SQL queries work the similar way, right? And then we have ConnectDB. So this ConnectDB is important one. This ConnectDB I had shown earlier. This is the one which establishes connection with any database given the credential strings. So this is used in the whole app. This is the one that is used. This one and the other one for upload. So this one we had gone into in detail, so I won't again go into it. And then we have the file upload custom DB. So this is the one which we are using in the app. We have a upload file custom DB for MySQL and for Postgres. So that's it in this one. Important thing is where in terms of hosting, earlier I used to host on Render. So for demo apps, for the client apps, once somebody wanted this to be deployed, so I suggested Render only. It's straightforward, safe, decent enough pricing for live apps. Somebody else had their own Amazon setup, so their developer set it up on Lambda and gave me an endpoint which I connected. So it's up to you where you want to set up. For my demo apps, at least now I have moved to using Coolify and Hetzner. Hetzner has a great plan. So I use Hetzner Cloud, and it has got excellent. It has got excellent plan, and you can create a server. You can create I have one server which is this is a simple server and a good pricing for CPU, 8 GB RAM, 80 GB. This thing, it cost me around 6-7 euro, and currently the advantages, the pricing is excellent. So if you go into Hetzner pricing, I won't go into it, but check it out. It's excellent pricing. I think probably one of the best pricing, and the performance is seamless. And on this I have installed Coolify. So Coolify gives me this is the Coolify which gives me a render like this thing. So I can deploy as many projects as I want. These are all my FastAPI servers. You can deploy a React also here, but React is Vercel. Vercel is there free for static sites, so that is best, or even for this thing. So you can employ as many apps as you want here. If I deployed each of them separately on Render, each would have cost me around $7 per month, right? So these are all demo apps. So I can deploy 10 or tens of them here, and if I want to add a new app, I just create a new project, and then just like Render or anywhere else, I can connect my GitHub repo, or if you have to just create I just say test app, it come here, and then I want to add a new resource. So then I get a whole I can connect my public repository, private repository, Docker, and I can create a database here directly in case I want to just set up a database here, services. So I get all this. There is installation, and it takes time. It took me a couple of hours to get this right, and I will drop a link, but this was a superb link, this one. From Syntax. They have a guide called Self-Host 101. I will drop a link in the help area also. They have a 5-part series, couple of hours, but absolutely detailed, right from setting up the Hetzner server. They take Hetzner example, I think. Then securing your login, disabling root logins, and setting up some of the firewalls and all those stuff. So covered in detail step by step how to set up CADI, HTTP proxy, and so on. So little bit of effort is required, but it is, I think, worth it if you are going to have for your test and demo, and whichever, if you are going to have many FastAPI servers running. So I have 4 or 5 server running here. I have got 6 7 in render. So now I'll migrate everything here. Okay, we will now cover the Auth0 piece, setting up authentication. So this is the one where it first checks if the authentication is there or not. If I'm like now I'm authenticated, so it is background is checking I'm authenticated, so it will show a logout button. If I'm not authenticated, if I'm logged out, then only this will happen, and if I create DB, then it will initiate the authentication, standard authentication process. Sorry. So this you can set up with Auth0, you can set up with Log2, Firebase, anywhere. I decided to go with Auth0, seemed like easier one. All of it step by step guidance was given by this. I was doing for absolutely first time, zero idea, absolutely. So I just followed the instruction from cursor. There's a lot of to and fro, and testing and mistakes, errors and all, but then it now a little better idea than before. So first is you will need to get for Auth0, you will first need to get create an account with Auth0, and create an account with Auth0, and keep one and create one app. App is the one you might have multiple app. Each app is the one that you will be showing here, part of it, that is the application. So once you are starting off, it will ask you some basic stuff that you can provide, and then you need to create your app. I have only one application here for Rex. This is the one application which is here, and it has got the standard setup. Domain is there. I have connected my own domain, which is we connected my own domain here. Also, you need to give that. You have to give the domain connection information. Description, standard stuff is there. You can put your own logo, and then these are the important variables. Allowed callbacks. These are the important URLs, where it should get locked out, which origin should be allowed, where it can call back URL. So if you are going to be testing from your local host, then you need to give your local host also here, so that will work in your local testing. So I gave all, I'm deployed in Vercel also, so different point in time I gave my Vercel login, then I gave my own, I just give everything here. All those logins will, wherever you get stuck, cursor will sort of guide you. Allowed origins and all, I gave those are pretty much standard setup. Allowed origins, I had given all my Tixig and Vercel cross authentication, cross origin authentication, web origin. I have given everything. Star dot star I have done. I have to check that actually now that I see it. Ideally, I think it should only be your domain, but for now it is fine. So you have the basic setup. As you when you are setting it up, it will set up the basic app. You can delete the app, and then you can create the new app. It just takes a minute to do that. The important part is this authentication, right? You can do a database authentication here in case you want to give an authentication with an email ID. So for this, I did not like this too much, the way, or maybe I was not doing it the right way. It was not verifying that final email ID. If I did not have a if I set this up and I give a new email ID, I can just give anything, and it was just going ahead. Maybe I was not doing it right, so I dropped this one. Social is the one. There are other options, right? It is the enterprise level, so everything is there. So social is the one where you have to create a connection, and you decide which connection you want. You can pick and choose from here which connection you want. So I picked up these four. So I picked up these four. Now when you start, what happens is when you start, uh, for each of them you need to get your own. You need to go to the developer portal and get your own client ID and client secret, and then you enable it here, right? Because each of those providers, whether it is Google, GitHub, they need to know whom it is coming from, who is the originator. For development person, during time when you are developing, they will put their own keys. So Auth0 will put their own development keys here, so you can start testing right away. The whole testing can go on immediately. You can get started within a minute, 1 2 minutes you can start. Once you have done the authentication, once you have done with the testing, then you will need to update this with your own key. Otherwise, when somebody logs in there, a red sign will come saying that developer keys are being used and so on. That will then the user will get this will get anxious. What is this red sign there? So then you have to go to each of the developer portal, developer.aws.com or something. Then GitHub has got its own portal. Then Google, you have to go to Google Cloud, LinkedIn has got a developer portal, Windows, Azure you have to give. So each of them I had asked Cursor, okay, now I'm going to go for Amazon. Can you guide me step by step? Where do I need to go and what to do? Because each of them have slightly different this thing. Google was probably a little more complex one, so it will guide me step by step. Okay, now you go to Google Cloud, create a new project. Now enable API. Now go to API. Now you create credential. Now you create OAuth. Now you copy this. You keep it here and then copy it there. But once I did one or two, then the remaining thing became pretty easy that way. And so each of them will you will for each of them you will need to you will get your client ID, client secret, you put it in, then it is authenticated for you. Then it works the way it works the way it is supposed to. And actually now that I've done it few times, that client ID, client secret is a pretty simple work. I mean, the whole thing is, first time it was a little this thing took a little time to understand the concept, but then realize it's not too difficult. So you have this is on this side. It's pretty much it, and wherever when I was working on the code side, wherever it was getting stuck, error happening, so I was giving it a documentation, right? Authentication. Just copy paste this documentation into like I showed you earlier, and in the Cursor tutorials, it will you can uh, it can read the whole documentation. Now on the coding side, this was again all set up by Cursor. It decided where to put. Some things were not working out, so something we had to change from here to there, and I wanted some specific functionality, right? I wanted it only for the create DB button. I'm not doing authentication for the whole site, so it's up to you. You want to set up authentication for the whole site, you can do it. I only want it for the create DB button. Only when somebody clicks on it, authentication should happen. It should earlier check if it's authenticated or not. If it is authenticated, please show a logout button. If it is not authenticated, then it should redirect to that screen. So that's like how all the auths work. You just have to decide the scope of the auth. The basic setup is here. This is where the basic setup happens, right? Uh, this is where the basic setup happens, and then yeah, this basic setup I had also forgotten how it did it. So I was just asking Cursor, how are you doing the auth setup? So main authentication setup, is it main yeah, this is the main authentication setup, and then it has the flow, all the triggers and the hooks and all. But to give you a quick idea here, and in the app setup, we first import the SDK, right? Use Auth0, and this is where the main function app is. These are the various functions that will be using from the Auth0 SDK. Is authenticated or not? As soon as it loads, check whether it is authenticated or not. When somebody clicks on logout, then the logout, this is the logout function. Then this is login with the redirect. When somebody wants to create a new DB, it will invoke this function from Auth0, which opens that screen, and we are then have the authentication working. So this is a very simple, simplest way I've set up. We- Obviously, authentication you can do far more. You might want to have it for the full site. You might want to store that database and all those credentials in a backend, maybe Firebase store or some MySQL store, and provide them with their past histories, their existing database connections. You might want to store. So once you're authenticated against that ID, you can store and provide whatever kind of customized experience you would like. Right, I'm just doing authentication only. So that's about the auth. Okay, so I think remaining part is agent. So agent I have already covered in the beginning of the, when we were right at the beginning of the build guide. I'll cover some of the remaining elements, and how to set up and Flowise and all. Leon Van Zyl's, if you want to do setting up on Flowise, the Leon Van Zyl's videos are the best. I have shared the links in my previous guide videos, and I have also shown in my previous guide video I had shown exactly how to create this assistant, but those had even more tools. So I'll just keep brief here relevant to what we are doing for this app. So model I use GPT-4o mini. It's like a workhorse. It works very well. I toggle sometime between GPT-4o and the mini just to check the performance. These are all standard setups, and the database custom tool I had already shown how it works. All the schemas and all there are in the repo docs, in the folder called docs will be there in the main repo. The agent, this is the agent instruction which I had shown how we can connect it. The agent basically takes the database credential, whichever format, and then it creates this DB parameter, and the query is passed to that neon endpoint, right? So this there. And for Python, I am using code interpreter tool, which is a direct node. So if you want to create if you want to do any analysis or Python chart statistical analysis and all, then that data, then the tool agent will pass it on to the code interpreter, as a Python script with the data embedded inside there. So that is for now, that is a bit of a constraint, because if I want to run a Python script on say a million data rows or say 1 GB file, then that becomes a constraint. But there are different solutions. That's something I'll probably be setting up a own custom code interpreter directly connected to the database, co-hosted with database or something. And this is the custom update document tool. If you want to push something into your docs, it can push it. I've gone into detail in this tool. So that's all that I've kept in this agent. Currently, this is a single, only one single agent. For this task, actually, it is better to have a multiple agent network or LLM network, or at least a maker checker, because the guy, the agent does stumble on queries sometimes, and I think a little bit of a maker checker kind of a setup would have been very good. There are excellent setups available for agent setup or LLM network setup. I had earlier shared this Volo. So Volo has he has done a database app somewhere. He has done a database, very nice database app, and it uses a excellent. It's here somewhere. I forgot it. I'm pretty sure I saw it. It uses a very excellent LLM network, not agent, just LLM networks to do triaging of query, and then creating the query, making, checking. Excellent, very well designed network. And in some of my other apps, I have got good experience with, rather than line graph, just two LLMs in sequence, straightforward. Now, that also works very well. So that's something currently, just to get it started, I started with this. So that's something I'll be building out. As you work on it, you can embed any kind of agent framework in between here. So with that, I think that concludes the build session. Now we have covered pretty much covered all of